Well, yes, viewers, now we're getting all these pictures from Ukraine. Now, a Russian military convoy that has been attacked in Kharkiv. Abhishek Kapoor joining us on the broadcast. Abhishek, tell us more about these visuals that we're beaming for viewers on the screen right now.
Well, Priyanka, so what the viewers need to be told is that Russians are making a very slow, even if a steady advance into the regions beyond the Donbass republics. And Kharkiv is one of them, which is sort of central Ukraine, up north, bordering Belarus. And that's an area which has substantial Russian military presence now. So it seems that apart from armored vehicles and artillery, infantry also is now making move, armored infantry. And the pictures that we see now is essentially armored infantry moving in. It seems they have come under fire from the Ukrainian side, and that's why they have gotten out. There could have been some casualties because the damage is substantial. Aishwarya is joining us, and these pictures clearly show that from air attacks, which was the essential mode in the first 2 days, Aishwarya,
Right,
now we are seeing infantry also moving in, soldiers from the ground.
Absolutely, it's
Russian
a hand-to-hand
troops
combat
getting
kind
in.
of a situation which is happening on the streets of Ukraine, whether it is Kyiv, Lviv, Kharkov, and now we are going to get you latest visuals within the next 20 seconds itself. And these visuals are of a street fight in Kharkiv. We are going to get you those visuals, but these visuals are of a convoy which was attacked through an aerial attack, and we are getting you latest visuals every passing minute. Republic has the largest team on ground in Europe, in Ukraine, whether it's Poland, whether it's Hungary, whether it's Slovakia, we have the largest news crew on ground. And these visuals, Priyanka, which you were just referring to, are of a Russian military convoy attacked in Kharkiv. We are going to get you another set of visuals very soon, within the next 20 seconds, of a hand-to-hand combat between the Russian and the Ukraine soldiers on the streets of Kharkiv. So after Kyiv and Lviv, now Kharkiv seems to be the new epicenter, and now it is, as Abhishek was also mentioning, now it is a face-to-face combat. Now it is a hand-to-hand combat happening between the Russian and the Ukrainian military soldiers. Abhishek, so this has come down to a hand-to-hand combat, but the amount of ammunition, the arms and ammunition which are being supplied by these European countries to Ukraine, and these visuals are the visuals of which I was just mentioning. Abhishek, hand-to-hand combat between the military of Ukraine and Russia. Abhishek.
Well, yes, and you are right, Aishwarya. It seems that that area capture process is started, where you are going to get into an area and hold on to it with your infantry, with your soldiers, and that's going to lead to street battles, pitched battles, trench war, and whatnot. And that seems to be the case emerging out of Kharkiv as we see the pictures. You were mentioning about allies of Ukraine sending in their weaponry. We don't know how much of it has come. America has announced $350 million worth of line of credit, essentially translating into that many many weapons. We have seen the French, the Germans sending in Stinger missiles, anti-aircraft guns, other weaponry to target armored vehicles and armored troops that are coming in from the Russian side. And then, of course, we have had Netherlands and other friendly nations, essentially NATO nations, who cannot join the war because Ukraine is not member of NATO, but then they are open to supplying not just weaponry, but giving whatever resources Ukraine needs to really fight it out. What is important is, Aishwarya, and that's something which we need to understand. There is a bit of fog of war. We don't know which side is suffering how much damage. But what can be said with some certainty is that if the Russians thought that it's going to be a cakewalk, that seems not to be happening.
And that is exactly what I was saying, that if they are not directly participating, Priyanka, it means, and that is what Abhishek was saying, that it's exactly on ground, Russia versus the world. Europe is at war, let there be no doubt about it. And these visuals are of the streets of Kharkiv, where you can see soldiers of Ukraine and Russia taking on each other on a hand-to-hand combat. Infantry fighting each other, buildings, civilian building blocks, residences being used as blockades, as their protectors. So no one could have ever expected. The whole of Europe is at war. If not the British, the German, the French, the Italian soldiers are not fighting against the Russian counterparts. They are sending in financial aid. They are sending in weapons. They are sending in artillery. So all of this is being sent. So it's Russia versus the world on the streets of Ukraine. And these are the latest visuals coming in. And as Abhishek was just explaining the whole technical part of it, it's on the streets of Kharkiv. Once again, these visuals showing you the level of fight which is happening on the streets of Ukraine. It's not a cakewalk for Russia at all. But now with the add-on support of America and the other European countries, not human support, not soldiers, but then whether it is about arms, whether it is about infantry, whether it is about tanks, trucks, guns, all of that is being supplied. Financial aid, everything is being supplied to Zelensky. So can the Ukrainian soldiers, can the Ukrainian people really come out and take on the Russians? So now we are showing you three set of different visuals showing the level of devastation and war which is happening on the streets, different streets, whether it's Kyiv, Lviv, Kharkiv and the other areas. No one expected that Putin is going to do this, but he had gone the full mile and the result is in front of us. Europe is at war. It's Russia versus the world. Abhishek.
Absolutely. And since you mentioned Aishwarya, what is also becoming visible is the scale of destruction. It's a nation, it's a society, it's a country that is going down. And while it is going down fighting, the amount of destruction and devastation that this war is causing is an area of concern for the global community. In the 21st century, whether you allow something like this, whether whatever ideological position Russia has vis-a-vis Ukraine, or whatever Ukraine has vis-a-vis Russia, does that allow this kind of destruction? Remember, as I said, there is a fog of war. We don't know how much of this damage has translated into human lives lost. There are no pictures. There are no numbers. There are claims versus counterclaims. Yeah. Russians are not giving any numbers insofar as lives lost.
Yeah.
Ukrainians are giving numbers of Russians who have lost, soldiers who have lost their lives, but then those seem to be exaggerated. Even if you discount for it, what is important is that the kind of pictures that are coming in, the kind of damage and destruction that they are showing, shows, and you can deduce from those pictures that there is likelihood of quite some amount of loss of human lives as well.
Absolutely, and these three set of visuals which are on screen, Priyanka, which you've been showing, and Abhishek has been mentioning, it shows how Russians have entered Kharkiv.
Coming in, we have to give the net sounds to the viewers so that they understand what's happening on the ground. Get the nuance there on the ground, get the voices from the ground, and then we come back.
Слава Україні!
ये वाला विजुअल देख लो.
Infantry unit facing some difficulties in their move. I believe they have been hit, they have been attacked, possibly by the Ukrainian side, if they are Russians, and they are waiting for
Well, yes, Abhishek, Aishwarya, we are showing these visuals very, very clearly now. We had seen how the Russian troops had been making their way into Kharkiv, and now we see the Russian convoy that had been attacked by the Ukrainian troops as well. And we see, as Aishwarya, you were pointing out very, very rightly, that the war is in fact on the streets now. There is a street fight that has also broken out between the troops of Ukraine and Russia in Ukraine, in several parts of Ukraine, after we have seen hours and days of sporadic bombing and attacks that has taken place from the Russian troops. And Abhishek, as you were pointing out, this is not just about the military, this is not just about the troops, but the civilians. The loss of property, the loss of life that has still not come out in clear numbers and clear pictures from these areas in Ukraine is something that is going to have to be looked at. It is something that we will have to remember. And as we have been seeing those visuals, viewers from Ukraine, from the very beginning, since the time that the Russian troops had been escalating this invasion into Ukraine, we have seen how the kind of stiff resistance that they have been facing on the ground from the Ukrainian troops